All right, we're good.
All right. What's up, and welcome to the EFIS episode 3. I'm your host, Justin Ledger, here with Zach Hummel and Brian Quimby. We're recording this on May 15th, and so we're just going to be going over everything that's happened in the past couple weeks since the last episode. Obviously, the biggest story was Max Scherzer's 20 strikeout performance against the Tigers. Obviously, it's a historic night, and what I thought was pretty interesting was the fact that it came just a few days after Kerry Wood's 20 strikeout, like the anniversary of Kerry Wood's 20 strikeout performance. I feel like that went pretty under the radar, but did you guys watch that game?
I caught the end of it on MLB Network. I thought it was interesting how it was against his former team, the Tigers. I don't know if that, kind of gave him the extra jump on his fastball because he definitely had it that night. But
Yeah.
I thought it was a great performance.
I did not watch that game. I have a early morning job, so I go to bed kind of like as late as old people do. I'm out by 9, so I didn't really watch that game. When I got up the next day and saw 20 strikeouts, I was amazed. I'm 20 strikeouts. That's a lot.
It's ridiculous.
That's 6 innings of just strikeouts, basically,
Yeah.
for outs.
Yeah, I liked how as soon as I tuned in the ninth inning, like I didn't watch any of the game until the ninth, so I think MLB Network just automatically tuned to it, and I happened to be
Yeah,
watching.
that's what they did.
Yeah, so they just tuned right to it, and I'm like, oh, nice, I get to watch maybe some history be made tonight. And he lets up a bomb to JD Martinez right off the bat. I laughed out loud. I was like, obviously that happens the second I tune in. He lets up a home run, but after that, that's the next batter is when he tied the record. So I thought that was pretty cool. I was hoping he'd break it. So if I don't know if it was the shortstop or the third baseman because the final out of the game was a ground out. But if I'm that guy, I throw the ball at the ground, I overthrow it, I do something just to give Scherzer another chance. I don't care about winning the game at that point. I want to see 21 strikeouts.
Yeah, toward the end of the game, I guess he had a couple opportunities, a couple 1-2 counts, 2-2 counts, and he kind of gave in and got ground outs instead of strikeouts. So, but it's so impressive that he got so many swings and misses because you don't really see that in baseball nowadays. Especially the Tigers, they have a decent offensive lineup, a lot of pretty good hitters.
Yeah, Quimby, you got anything?
I didn't watch the game. Like 20 strikeouts like that. My I,
Quimby can't wrap his head around the fact that there were 20 strikeouts.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know.
not real. It's not real life to him right now.
no, that was the stat line's just nuts, guys. That's all I can say.
All
Utterly
right,
speechless.
that's hard hitting analysis. So we could go straight. I mean, that's pretty much all we have to say about that. There's not really much else we could say about it other than pretty much. I mean, I don't know the next time we're going to see 20 strikeouts in a game. That's one of those things that happens every. I don't know, probably how many. It was 18 years since Kerry Wood did it, so that just speaks for itself. So then we'll just move on. We'll stick with the Nationals. Talk about Bryce Harper. Probably had one of the weirdest weeks in recent memory, baseball-wise. I mean, he had 13 walks in that game, in that 4-game set against the Cubs, which is ridiculous by itself. But then on Sunday in the series finale, he saw 27 pitches and he just did not swing the entire game. Walked 6 times, was hit by a pitch. Like, I don't know the next time. I mean, the next time we see that, it'll probably be Bryce doing it again, just because they're probably going to keep giving him the Barry Bonds treatment. But I thought that was one of the craziest series that I've ever seen for one player.
Yeah, I mean the Cubs are smarter than me, so I'm not going to tell them what to do. Like, they kind of put it in during the series opener. They're like, we're not going to let this guy beat us, and they kind of let the rest of the Nationals lineup beat them, and they definitely didn't. I mean, Zimmerman was terrible in that series. National fans were screaming for him to get moved down the order because he wasn't giving Bryce any protection. Because, like you said, they were just walking him every time up. But it ended up working. I'm not going to argue with that. The Cubs are the best team in baseball.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's it. that kind of thing says a lot about the Nationals lineup in particular, that they had no problem putting him on base that many times and just letting other people do damage. He really had no protection in front of him or behind him. That's kind of why they let him get on base 7 times.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty crazy because everyone was just shitting on Ryan Zimmerman, rightfully so, because he was not hitting after Harper got on base. But as soon as everyone was like, put someone else behind Harper, like, why is that so hard? Why does it have to be Zimmerman? Zimmerman goes out and hits 2 homers in a game. I thought that was funny, but
Yes. Sometimes you need a little, pick me up.
yeah.
They've kind of just been treading along the Nationals, and they finally hit some adversity. And it's good to see Zimmerman, who's a veteran, who's been, great for the Nationals, kind of step up after he took some heat.
How do you think the rest of the league is going to handle Harper from this point forward? Do you think they're going to see what the Cubs did and kind of continue that trend and give him the Barry Bonds treatment, or do you think eventually that's going to kind of come back to bite them?
I'm curious to think what Quimby thinks on this.
Yeah.
I think until it stops working, teams are going to keep. Dave, shut up. Until it stops working, teams are going to keep giving him the Barry Bonds treatment.
No, I totally agree. Like I don't see a reason why you'd pitch to him unless you get a pitcher like maybe a Syndergaard or a Harvey who's like, oh coach, I'm not going to walk him, I can strike him out, and then they give up a bomb and then they go back to walking him. One of those situations.
Yeah, after that game, his last 12 plate appearances. This is probably the craziest thing that I saw out of the entire ordeal. Was he was walked and he was walked again, sack fly, walk, intentional walk, walk, intentional walk, hit by pitch, walk, intentional walk, intentional walk. Seeing that on paper is hilarious, and the fact that that's actually a real possibility that could happen again this season. I think that just speaks to the type of player that Harper is, and it's what's weird to me is that there's other players in the league who put up similar numbers to Harper, but don't get the same, not even close to the same type of treatment.
No, I agree. Good for Harper. A lot of young players like him might try to, go out of their way to swing at pitches that aren't strikes, but he kind of took his walks, and that'll eventually pay off. Like you said, Zimmerman went out and hit 2 home runs behind him. That'll eventually pay off in the long run.
Right,
Yeah.
and yeah, keep going. Go
ahead.
I was gonna move on to the next subject, but if you had more to talk about.
Oh no, it was just gonna be continuing on that point. It's okay.
Okay. All right. So yeah, while we're on the subject of Harper, we can also talk about what he did the very next day after that Cubs series ended, which was he was ejected in the 9th inning for arguing balls and strikes, and then once Clint Robinson for the Nationals hit a walk-off homer, Harper runs onto the field, drops a quick F-bomb, and the umpire, obviously, all cameras were on Harper because he came back onto the field in the first place when he was ejected. That's something you're just not supposed to do, but he did it. And I don't know, do you guys think he was suspended for the F-bomb, or do you think he was suspended for coming back onto the field after the ejection? Because in the MLB's press release, they said it wasn't for the F-bomb, it was for coming back onto the field.
Yeah,
Well,
I think.
it was.
Go ahead, Brian.
It was probably for the entire incident, but yeah, it's definitely the fact that he did come back onto the field after being ejected. What's the point of ejecting someone if they can just come back onto the field without a penalty? That's definitely why he was suspended.
Yeah, he's definitely suspended for that, but actually I didn't really have a problem with it. If it's on a walk-off hit, the game's over, I could really care less. I usually side with the players on these. I think these umpires can make all these big calls in games. They don't really have a checks and balances system, so I usually side with the player. And I thought it was funny when Harper came out and dropped the F-bomb, the umpire just turned his head and acted like he didn't heard it. I know that was pretty funny.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't talk about the umpire's reaction, but I thought that was actually the funniest part of the whole thing.
Yeah, that makes me think the umpire knew he screwed up. He didn't want to hear it.
he just got a walk-off homer right in his face, so he probably didn't want to like deal with that anymore anyway.
I didn't notice the reaction. I was just more amazed that Harper came out onto the field, and it was almost like he was looking at the rep the whole time and immediately was gonna like cuss him out or something.
Yeah, yeah. He was like he was planning that while he was in the in the clubhouse.
Yeah, it worked out perfectly for Harper that it ended on a walk-off. He could run out and just swear at the ump.
The part that I found weird about the suspension is that John Farrell essentially did the same exact thing as Harper, where he came back onto the field after an ejection and nothing happened. There were no consequences, so that's what makes me think that it's for saying "fuck you" to the ump. But at the same time, confrontations with umpires happen all the time. So that's what confuses me, is the fact that he's being disciplined for something that happens every single day in baseball. And to make the argument that it's for coming back onto the field when Farrell did that days before Harper did, I think that's pretty questionable the way MLB handled it. But then on the other hand, I get that they can't just let Harper get away with everything just because he's the face of baseball. So I almost believe that's why they sent that message.
Yeah, they're trying to make an example out of him. He's got a target on his back. And on the other hand, John Farrell really doesn't. You know, they'll kind of let him get away with it because he's the manager. And he's kind of supposed to argue for the players on the players' behalf. But Harper coming out and kind of strung up an ump like that, they're trying to make a model out of him so other players don't do that.
I think it's going to be interesting to see if a situation similar to this happens again with Harper, if he continues to get punished where other players or managers might not get punished. Maybe there might be like a Bryce Harper treatment that MLB wants to give him or something.
Yeah, I agree with that. We'll stick in the NL East for the next topic. A lot of NL East action this past week. Yeah, I guess so. We'll talk about. We'll start off with Bartolo Colon, Big Sexy, hitting his first career homer. I mean, obviously there isn't much to talk about with that, but I thought that was probably sneaky the biggest moment in the past couple weeks, other than the whole Harper fiasco and Scherzer, of course, that making history. But I think Bartolo Colon's homer was my favorite moment. I don't know about you guys, but I thought that was just awesome because I watched it live too, and it was just so funny to watch.
Yeah, it was one of those moments where you like remember where you were at. It's great to see Colon hit a home run. He hadn't hit one in his career, obviously, and he swings so hard every time he's up at the plate. He loses his helmet almost every other at bat, so it's good for him to connect on one. And he hit one. He didn't get cheaped on his home run. I mean, Petco's not a small ballpark, so
yeah, that was a bomb.
Definitely got into that one a little bit.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy for Colon. Didn't he, like, wasn't it a couple of years ago that he had a ridiculously long streak where he didn't even get a hit?
Yeah.
So just to see him hit a home run at like 42 or whatever, that's pretty nuts.
That's crazy. And he's been in the league for so long. I remember, I don't know, when I was like little, I would play like Nintendo 64 baseball games, and like Bartolo Colon was pitching for like, I don't even know at that point. Was it like he pitched for like the Angels at the beginning of his career, right? Or something like that. Like I remember he played.
He pitched for the Expos.
And Angels, right?
Yeah, Indians and Angels.
Indians, yeah. And it's just so funny to see that his first career homer is now. Like it's just insane. And I think my favorite part, other than the fact that his home run trot was 31 seconds, which is ridiculous. My favorite part of the entire thing was the fact that it was off of James Shields. I think James Shields might actually be my least favorite player in baseball.
Starting to give up home runs to Colon, you might consider retirement at the end of the year.
The best part of the whole thing though was Syndergaard's tweet about it.
Oh yeah, what did he say after? He was like, he was like one of the biggest moments in baseball or something like that.
I needed a day to process the biggest moment of my baseball life.
Did you guys hear the actual Mets announcer? He made a meal of it. Like he was like, "This is a momentous moment in the history of baseball."
I love it.
Like, yeah, let him go off. I mean, it's crazy. He definitely has a cult following amongst Mets fans at least, but you know everyone respects him. that
That's what
follows
makes
baseball.
that's what makes the moment so much better, though, when the announcer just goes absolutely nuts because a fat guy hit a home run. That's what makes baseball so awesome. Just because, like, I feel in the NBA, I guess you can kind of compare it in the NBA. Like, for example, if Scalabrine nailed like a clutch three, uh, Tommy Heinsohn would go nuts, you know. But at the same time, there's nothing like something like that moment. It's really tough to compare that type of moment to any other sport.
It would never even happen in basketball. Why would Scal be hitting a clutch three?
No, I'm
No,
saying
no,
for
I'm just saying, like, to emphasize your point. Like, it's
yeah, no, yeah, yeah,
happening
no,
in
I get what you're
sport.
saying. Like that's something that just wouldn't happen, but that's the best comparison I can even make because
It,
there's nothing like it.
it's not even close.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, that was awesome. And then you spoke about Syndergaard, and a few days later he goes and hits 2 home runs. Like I hope they just keep going off. I hope Bartolo Colon goes out. He got rocked in his last start, and obviously didn't get a homer. But I hope later this year he just goes out and hits 2 or 3 homers, and then those two just. I mean, that would be probably the coolest thing to ever happen.
Yeah, there's something to be said. Once Cologne starts hitting home runs, the rest of the Mets pitchers start looking around and be like, if this guy hits a home run, we got to hit 2 or 3. So Syndergaard stepped up, went opposite field with both of them, I think, and he's got
Yeah,
some crazy power. I mean, if you need a pinch hitter in the World Series or in the playoffs, I would put that guy up.
yeah. An interesting thing I wrote a baseball recap for like this past week, and an interesting stat that I looked this up because I was just curious, and I found this out by myself is that excluding Freddie Freeman, the Mets pitchers have just as many home runs as the entire Braves roster. 3. That's insane.
Yeah. I don't know if that speaks more to the Mets or the Braves. I mean,
No,
the
it
Braves,
speaks to the Braves, how shitty
yeah,
the Braves are. They have 9 home runs total, and where it's May 15th.
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's insane. Um, so I guess we can move out of the National League now, head over to the American League, and we could just briefly chat about how much of a tear Jackie Bradley Jr. is on right now, and the Red Sox just in general. That lineup has been playing out of its mind lately, and it's nice to see because guys like Xander and Mookie haven't really been performing up to expectations, you could say, up to this point. But this past week, the entire lineup from top to bottom has been producing, and guys, especially when guys like Travis Shaw produce, like the way I think what's he batting right now, like 340 or something?
Yeah, he's batting real well.
Yeah,
Right on there.
yeah, it's insane. So that's good to see. And Jackie Bradley Jr. obviously has a 20-game hit streak right now. He's batting 336. He's slugging 603. I mean, I know we expected Jackie Bradley Jr. to be better than he has been because that's not even saying much because how bad he's sucked the past couple of years. But I don't think anyone quite expected him to just come out of the gates like this. A 20-game hit streak last year for Jackie Bradley Jr. would have been like unfathomable. So that's a good sign. I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts on his like how he's been doing and just the Red Sox lineup in general.
Yeah, I mean, if you had told me at the beginning of the year that Jackie Bradley would be hitting over 300 and have a 20-game hit streak, I would have laughed in your face. All we needed was this guy to hit just 250, sit at the bottom of that lineup and play Gold Glove center field defense, and he's shattering expectations.
Yeah, last year everyone would just say as long as Jackie Bradley Jr. hits like 240 and keeps up what he's doing, whatever, keep him in the lineup. And now, he's obviously still a stellar center fielder, but he's hitting. A 20-game hit streak, batting 336 is unheard of for any player. Never mind a guy like Jackie Bradley Jr. And his stats this year are now better than Mike Trout's. And obviously, I'm not going to say he's better than Mike Trout by any means, but having a guy like that in the lineup right now has been. That's a major reason why the Red Sox they've won 6 out of the last 7 games. I don't expect obviously him or the lineup to keep up this pace, but it's certainly a good sign to see what they're capable of.
Yeah, he's 7th in the major leagues in RBIs. Jackie Bradley Jr. We're talking about the same guy here that hit like 140 for a while.
It's
And
insane.
yeah, I mean, people are comparing this to 2013. I mean, it's pretty early, but this team is young. You know, this team's gonna be here for a while. 2013 was, you know, one in a million, a bunch of veterans who kind of came together. I think this lineup is so deep. It reminds me of the early, you know, 2000 Red Sox teams where it's like you never get a break as a pitcher. You know, you got Bradley hitting in the ace spot, and then you got Bogarts, Bradley, Pedroia. You know, everyone will give you a tough at bat. Everyone's hitting almost 300 or over. I just think, you know, if they can get some semblance of starting pitching, this team, you know, I love them in the AL, which isn't that strong of a league this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think I compared the Sox to the Royals last year in the last podcast. I hate to keep doing this, but this lineup looks very similar. It This is a lineup that can put together huge innings and just keep the line moving. And once you get them going, it's really hard to stop them. They can go out and beat anyone on any given night. I really love their chances this year.
Yeah, and it goes further than the lineup too. I think the pitching's trending in an upward direction. Obviously, Price did really well in his last start, and I don't want to completely say it's because of Pedroia fixing his leg kick and his delivery, but I do think mechanics were an issue, and I'm glad that they figured that little kink out. I do want to see a couple more starts out of Price like that one, but Porcello's still pitching well. Buckles is pitching better. He's not. I mean, he still sucks. Fuck Clay Buckles. I hate that guy. But he's pitching better than he was at the beginning of the year, even though that's really not saying a whole lot. But again, the pitching is improving, and to see that along with what the lineup's doing is very encouraging.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have an exciting, you know, playoff run. You know, maybe it's a little too early to say, but I love our chances.
And we can leave off on this. Do you guys think David Ortiz actually retires at the end of this year?
Hmm.
I
I'd
think
have to say yes.
he does, and he should.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I agree with the should part, but I think he will because I don't think he's the type of guy who would say he's retiring and then just not do it. But this guy, I mean, he could DH for another, I'd probably say another 3 years at a high level. So to see when his bat's out of the lineup next year, it's just going to be so, not even just strange, but we're going to be missing a major, major part of the lineup because he's still contributing at such a high level. And I'm saying this a day after he hit a, what was it, a walk-off double?
Yeah, walk off double.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna have to replace 30 home runs and 90 RBIs that you've been getting the past 8 or 9 seasons, which is not easy, you know, in any right.
And everyone's saying, like, oh, Sandoval will be back. He'll be the DH. Fuck that.
No.
If Sandoval's on the team next year, never mind our DH, I'll fucking throw a fit, all right? Like, that guy, I don't want him anywhere near a Red Sox uniform.
I would trade him right now for Scott Atchison. I don't even know where Scott Atchison is, but I would make that trade.
I don't know if they would make that trade. The
I
team
don't
with
even know
Scott
if Scott
Atchison.
Atchison's pitching, but I would make that trade today.
The fact that you just threw out Scott Atchison as a name is, I mean, that just made this entire podcast.
I would do the same deal, though. I mean,
Oh yeah, fuck yeah, I would do it too.
Sandoval is the biggest waste of money the Red Sox have made, and they've made some big bad deals in the past couple of years with Crawford and, you know, a couple other players. But that deal is going to come back to bite them. But I do think Ortiz, I don't think he definitely can perform, and he knows that. But I think he's just sick and tired of having to train and do all the off-season work to come back. I think that's where it lies. In his reason for retiring, you know, he's just tired of the spring training and all the time. And his kids are growing up. I think he wants to spend more time with them, which is kind of understandable after all he's done for the Red Sox. I would say, you know, goodbye and farewell. You did so much good stuff for us. You know, he can kind of choose when he can want to retire.
Yeah, in that way, that's very true. Just like the fact that he'd be going out on top would be nice. I almost feel like David Ortiz is the type who wouldn't retire, you know, after a sucky season. he wants his numbers to be up, and he wants to be remembered as one of the best Red Sox to ever put on the uniform. So, yeah, I agree with you guys. I think he does retire, unfortunately, at the end of this year. But yeah, I figured I'd ask that just because a lot of people are saying that he should second guess it. And I think at this point, it's just, it's way too late. It's hard to turn back when you already said that you're retiring.
Yeah,
You guys think he's a Hall of Famer?
Absolutely.
without a doubt.
I don't think that's even a question.
Best DH of all time.
And you can
I've
make
seen people talking about it, and I think he's a surefire Hall of Famer.
I don't think it's a question. I think if you even debate that, like I think if you question whether he's a Hall of Famer or not, then you just don't understand what David Ortiz has done for the Red Sox, and for baseball in general.
I think.
Yeah, I know
Go ahead.
Well, I think we're all pretty biased because we're Red Sox fans, but yeah, he's done so much. I think I saw a stat yesterday that he has 500 home runs and 600 doubles, and the only other players to do that are like Hank Aaron and Willie Mays, I think. I mean, that's like the kind of class you're talking about. He's got to be a Hall of Famer.
And it's not even just the numbers like that. I mean, because a lot of people would be like, all right, well, Edgar Martinez, you could say he's the better DH than David Ortiz in his career, and he's not a Hall of Famer. Okay, but look at what David Ortiz has done in the playoffs. Look at what he's done to single-handedly bring the Red Sox championships. It's really hard to argue against that, and I think that plays a huge factor when you consider whether someone's worthy of a Hall of Fame vote.
Yeah, I certainly think he's worth it. The only question is whether he'd get the votes. I think he will, but, there is that PED suspicion. Yeah, I know. It's a suspicion. It's going to be there. People are going to consider it. And then there's also the DH argument, but no doubt he's a surefire Hall of Famer. 500 home runs, 3 titles. Yeah, it's a lock. Should be a lock.
All right. That pretty much wraps things up, unless you guys have anything else to add.
No, I think we covered everything.
Quimby, you got anything? Anything extra for you?
I think I'm good.
All right. So we'll wrap it up there. Thank you for tuning in to the EFES episode 3. Be sure to tune in a couple weeks for episode 4. Follow Ledge Radio on Twitter. We have a bunch of new podcasts on the way. And we will see you later.
All right. Peace.
Word.